Halo has had so many different multiplayer levels over the years, and we've talked about this before. We're not the biggest competitive multiplayer players out there, but we definitely can appreciate a map when it looks good. So we wanted to put together today a list of some of our favorite multiplayer maps that just look good. So for this video, the map doesn't have to play well. It could be the most broken map that's ever existed, but if it looks cool, it's making it on this list, and that's final, I think. But before we get into it, have you ever wondered what would Master Chief use to stay safe while browsing the web? Or what if he wanted to watch his favorite anime that was geo-locked in a different location? Well, he probably would use Surfshark VPN. We just wanted to give a huge thank you to Surfshark VPN for sponsoring this video. When you browse online content, there's a lot of websites that take your information and store it without you even knowing about it. So if you want to stay safe and protected, you can use a virtual private network like Surfshark VPN as this all-in-one solution to keep your browsing info from getting out on a daily basis. Have you ever had that weird interaction where you're talking to someone about something and 10 minutes later you get ads for the exact same thing, or you look something up and then ads start popping up? Well, fortunately enough, by using Surfshark, it will stop targeted ads and makes you harder to track and lets you stay anonymous online easier. Also, by using something like Surfshark, you can actually get past annoying geo-blocking. So if you want to use a website like Netflix or Crunchyroll that has a region-locked content, you can actually change your location as to where you're browsing from the world, refresh the page, and bam, you have access to all these shows that weren't available before. So if you're ready to sign up, go over and get Surfshark VPN at surfshark.deals/RocketSloth. Enter the promo code RocketSloth for 81% off and 3 extra months for free. There's a link down in the description below. Okay, first up, this is the one that kind of sparked the whole idea of this video. But if you ever played Halo Online, which was exclusive in Russia, so most of you probably haven't played it, or you played El Dorito when that was available, there was an official Halo level called Icebox, released in Halo 3, which essentially was a remake of the level Turf from Halo 2. Now, Icebox was really cool because it took place in some city in Russia, but they took this concept that was a pretty reused area, of course, from the level Outskirts in Halo 2, and they transformed it into a brand new, unique location with this icy snow feel to it. Not only does it have this interesting vibe of a cold city that you're exploring, but the high technology futuristic stuff that is also present throughout this level is just a really big bonus, and it just makes this level kind of this one level I really want to go back to and be able to play on. Of course, I can't really play on this level anymore. Maybe we'll get an MCC update in the future that ports this level into Halo 3, that would be amazing. But I just think more levels across the board should take inspiration from a level like Icebox and try to recapture the original structure of the map, but then make it look completely different, or put it in an atmosphere that's not so common in the game after all. Okay, I've heard split decisions across the board as to whether or not this map is even a good map or not, but I absolutely loved Longshore when it released in Mythic 2 way back on ODST's release date for Halo 3. Longshore not only captures some ideas of other maps in the past, but it was just really unique how they introduced this level that took place in a locale we had never really played a multiplayer level in Halo, at least before. Whether it was the idea of just having these cold freezers over here, or just the water with little dinghies down below, and then just knowing that we were still kind of nearby New Mombasa, which painted this larger than life world that we're constantly seeing more locations to. There was this weird picture of a fish that's eyes would progressively change over time. I don't know, there's just something unique about Longshore that just gives me this feeling of nostalgia more than a lot of the other Halo 3 maps. And at this point, I gotta kind of warn you guys, because of how much of Halo 3 fans Luke and I are, a lot of this list might be a little biased towards Halo 3 just being some of the best looking maps. So we're gonna get that out of the way now, but there are some good ones that aren't Halo 3 in this video as well. For instance, Japhyrophobia, which nobody could ever pronounce back in the day from Halo Combat Evolved, was a really unique map. Just being on this huge bridge way out in space somewhere was such a cool idea. Honestly, I haven't played too many big team battle games on this map to know if the map's actually any good or not, but aesthetically speaking, it's really cool. They just kind of went all out there with this idea on building this map, and I think it was something that kind of paid off well. It's similar to a lot of the other maps we saw in Halo Combat Evolved. There's 2 main sides, this whole middle area, and we've seen other maps that kind of have captured this idea over the years of having a bridge right down the middle. Japhyrophobia is just something that's unique, and it's different, and we really like the way that it looks, and it deserves its spot on this list. When it comes to levels that that were inspired from Lockout, which don't get us wrong, Lockout is a great looking map, but Blackout and Guardian are two maps that took a lot of the concepts from Lockout and just made them look so much aesthetically more unique. Blackout went for a completely different approach, kind of being inspired as if it was an oil rig or something along those lines, and it looked really great. Sure, there's some problems with the sight lines being changed and some jumps, but whether it's the cool little chimney that's over there or the awesome basketball hoop that seriously gets slept on way too much, there's just something really unique about the way that this level felt and where you felt in the universe of Blackout. Just looking off in the distance of the skybox or the moon that's just up there. I don't know why this map is still one of the coolest looking maps. And then Guardian was supposed to be a Halo 3 campaign level that was cut, and it just took players in this forest somewhere with a lot of Forerunner structures that were overrun with greenery, and that was really cool in itself as well. And it just seems like these two levels did such a great job at building up atmosphere that we couldn't exclude them from this list. Now, we're pretty hypercritical when it comes to Halo 4 and Halo 5, but Skyline is one that I'll always stand by looking like one of the coolest maps in Halo 4 easily. Just the fact that we get this view off into the city, it just builds this bigger than life world that we're kind of only getting to see a little snippet of, and just knowing that there's more out there is something that Bungie had done for such a long time, and it felt like since this was released in DLC, 343 was really starting to get a handle on building these larger than life locations in the multiplayer levels as well as the campaign. Okay, in favor of not just going on for Halo 3 forever, Sandtrap, Epitaph, and Sandbox. They all have really unique things going on aesthetically, and specifically with Sandtrap and Sandbox just being out in the desert, it was just a really cool locale. It always made me wonder, looking off in the distance when I was up on Epitaph, what's out there in this deserty Forerunner structure? And when Sandbox later came out, running around the map and seeing these huge towers that would shoot you down if you ran outside of the map that were associated with the Guardians was just this really ethereal thing that could happen. And it's not only a little spooky having these giant tower spotlights looking down at you, but also knowing that they can just blast you in a second. It added this little extra level of mystery to whatever is going on, tying that together with the mysterious Sandtrap glyphs that people still haven't discovered to what they mean to this day. There's just a lot going on these three levels, and I'd love to see more of like a desert vibe in a future Halo game. From Halo 2, Backwash is a really interesting one just because aesthetically it draws so much from 343 Guilty Spark from Halo CE, which we really like, and just the atmosphere of this similar feeling area to the space we had in Halo CE, but this time on Delta Halo, was kind of a cool touch. It's mysterious and reminds us a little bit of Guardian. Terminal is definitely an underrated map. Not only do we get to feel more of the newer Mombasa side of things, but we just really like the way that this map feels and looks overall. It made us wish we had a new Mombasa dedicated game or something like that that we could play. If only we had that. Okay, we've seen Zanzibar remade a couple of times now, and there was no denying that this would make its way into this video in one way or another, but actually I really liked the way that Stonetown kind of brought out this definitive version of this multiplayer level. Stonetown is really unique just because it polished up a lot of the art things they did in Zanzibar and Cut My Life into Pieces. And I just liked the polished way that Stonetown ended up looking at the end of the day. The graffiti kind of added this extra touch that maybe makes you wonder who was here before we started just, fighting some reds and blues on a beach over here. There's been some great snow maps in the past, real quick, like Sidewinder or the remake Avalanche look amazing, and just in general, I liked whenever Halo would just throw a snow map out there, and I think it was really fitting that when Avalanche got that Forge update in Halo 3, it became a much more viable map, even though it was already pretty well used beforehand. Avalanche definitely is one of the greater looking maps, and it was really cool when they added this in as DLC right around the time that Halo Wars initially came out. One thing Halo 3 was missing though when it released was an outer space mission where you're in some UNSC type ship or something like that. Halo 1 had it on the first level, Halo 2 had it on the first level. When we get to Halo 3, we don't really have any levels where we're just kind of out in space in some sort of space building. You can look out the windows and see, space. And when Orbital came out, while this level definitely is not a favorite for multiplayer game types, I just can't help but to love the aesthetic of Orbital and getting to run up and down the stairs, looking at some writing on the wall for some fictional character that exists in this universe, just looking out the window, seeing what's out there, trying to figure out what's going on in this elevator shaft that may be broken. I don't know. I just really like Orbital. I like driving my mongoose around through it. I like the little plants that are growing inside in outer space, and I can't help but to just really like this map, even though it just doesn't really play all that well. Highlands, Another level that is very slept on when it comes to Halo Reach. I mean, sure, the planet's being glassed in the background, and these Spartans are like, hey, why don't we fight over here? But I guess maybe that's a little besides the point. This level actually is a really fun map when it comes to big team battle settings. The skybox is gorgeous, and in general, it was a fun map that had a lot of variety. And knowing that this is kind of the training grounds where a lot of Spartans learn to do their operations was kind of this extra point of interest when this map released as DLC in Reach. Also, while we're just talking about stuff from Halo Reach, when we got the Halo Combat Evolved anniversary release of Battle Creek Remastered, I even think it was called Battle Canyon, honestly, they just took a map that was so well known in the Halo community and made it look so good that I just can't help but to love this little smaller canyon where a lot of little battles fought between people, whether it was a battle canyon or a beaver creek or whatever you wanted to call it. It was a level that we really appreciated. Condemned is another map that's really interesting in Halo Reach. Even though the inside area is pretty generic space base type feel to it, the area outside of the ship through the windows is really cool. And then by far one of our favorite possible looking maps has to go to Mercy in Halo 5 Guardians. The way they took Haven and they transformed it into this location in St. Helios, and there's this, you know, really unique aesthetic going on an already good map. It was just a beyond amazing experience to actually realize that, hey, look, this is actually that Halo 4 map, but look how much better it looks nowadays. Don't get me wrong, I know a lot of people really like the way Haven originally looked, but I just loved the difference between Haven and Mercy, and I can't deny Mercy its spot on this list because it was really cool. And then if there was one more thing we wanted to include of great looking things from a Halo 5 Guardians, the Forge Canvas Depths was also a really unique idea. Just, hey, throw us underwater, you know, make us feel like we're playing some Mario 64 underwater level, and then give us some, you know, Forge abilities, and we can build some stuff while we're, you know, living it up like underwater Mario.
Anyways, that's today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe if you're not already subscribed with notifications on. We would appreciate it.
Thanks for watching, guys.